Good morning, everyone. Well, it appears to be 10:15, so it's time to start our annual issue spotlight. Welcome. My name is Becky Belanger. I'm the executive director here at the Women's Fund, and I'm delighted that you are all here today to learn more about our Young Women's Initiative and our two-generation program, Starting Point 2.0. Those of you who attended the Women's Fund Luncheon last year will remember that we announced that this program was just about to start. I think we started the week or so right after the luncheon. And so we're very happy to have this opportunity to share more details of the first year of the program and some of the exciting results that we've seen. So on behalf of our sponsors, Community First Credit Union, Associated Bank, U.S. Venture, Mosaic Family Health, and Thrivent, I want to thank you for attending. I'd like to welcome Jen Zettel from the Post-Crescent, engagement editor at the Post-Crescent, who will be our moderator today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. As Becky said, I'm Jen Zettel. I'm the engagement editor at the Post-Crescent and for USA Today Network Wisconsin. So just to kind of give a little background, so many of you know the Women's Fund began in 1994 to meet the needs and support the talents of local women and girls through grants, advocacy, and education. And in that time, the Women's Fund has awarded more than $1.4 million in grants. The program we're going to talk about today, Starting Point 2.0, is a little different, from past initiatives in that the Women's Fund helped pilot the program. So whereas in the past, the fund was providing funds for initiatives, this time they actually said, we want to actually help pilot the program and be more involved. So it's very interesting. I've had a lot of fun learning about this. And joining us today are kind of stakeholders from all the groups involved. So I'm just going to go down the line and give a quick intro. We have Irene Strohbeen. She is a board member of the Women's Fund and the chair of the Women's Fund Fox Valley Task Force Initiative. Is that correct?
The Young Women's Initiative.
Young Women's Initiative, yes. We also have Kara Nowak. She's a student services counselor at Fox Valley Technical College. We have Alex Mischler. She's a graduate of Starting Point 2.0, and she's a student at Fox Valley Tech. And we also have Pastor Elder Williams, the executive director of B.A.B.E.S. So we'll kick things off with Irene. Tell us how Starting Point 2.0 began from the Women's Fund perspective.
Sure. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Great to have you all here. When I first joined the board, it's about 4 years ago now, the board had already decided that we wanted to focus on economic security for young adult women. This would be women ages 18 to 29. We wanted to focus on them because these are women who have aged out of other social support systems. And as we have learned, sometimes they just kind of disappear from the radar screen. So I was asked to lead the task force. I had no idea what to do. The board wasn't exactly sure what to do. But, like any other projects, you start by doing a little exploration, research, figure out what else is going on. In March of 2016, Becky and I had a chance to go to a Women's Funding Network, basically a 1.5-day conference in New Orleans that was very focused on taking a two-generation approach to solving poverty. At that conference, we learned about what other women's funds and organizations were doing around the country to help, basically most of them were single mothers and their children to, go back to school, get a better education, take on higher paying jobs, and lift themselves out of poverty, and also ingrain in the children that this is something that's attainable and something that's possible. So what we did is we ended up coming back, learning more about what could be done with a community college, in other words, Fox Valley Tech in our case, had many discussions, but basically worked with Fox Valley Tech to identify what could we add on to what Tech is already doing for these women in this age range, And also, how can we provide high-quality early childhood education for their preschoolers? And that was where we, I mean, we already had a relationship with B.A.B.E.S, and we thought, well, B.A.B.E.S would be a great location because of the work they already do with the children, because we were familiar with the center and knew that they had space for the workshops. So, I mean, again, it took quite a lot of discussion and a lot of time. After all, we were in New Orleans in March of 2016, and we offered our first workshop for the mothers and their children in September of 2017. So it took us a year and a half, but I think the time was well spent in developing what could be and what is now.
And Irene, what made the Women's Fund want to branch out, as I said earlier, go beyond just supporting a grant and actually helping pilot a program?
That's a great question. I think Becky mentioned this was a major shift in how we go about supporting women and girls. In this case, obviously the Women's Fund has played much more of a leadership role, an initiator role, and convener is also a word that I think we can use. It has been very gratifying to be in that seat of let's get the right organizations together and create the collaboration that's needed to solve these large social problems. And so it has, I mean, the Women's Fund has ended up being able to just see so much more of how we benefit the community.
All right, great. And Pastor Williams, can you speak a little bit about what you were seeing at B.A.B.E.S and what made your organization want to get involved in this program?
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, I can. One of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about in terms of what we're seeing in our community and at B.A.B.E.S is setbacks. So I know we all have experienced setbacks, and those setbacks can make us pause and not want to go forward. They can be overwhelming and just super, super challenging. And so for some of us, we find a way to overcome it, and we've got the support to do so. A lot of times when we work with our young families, the young moms and young dads, those setbacks are really detrimental, and it makes them stuck. And so we're seeing people who are stuck, and maybe they have one child, and maybe number 2 comes along, or maybe they come to us with 3 or 4 already, and that's just tough. And it's hard to get out of the cycle. So we've been seeing people just stuck. And this opportunity to work together in this collaborative effort has given those folks, these families, ample opportunity to become unstuck.
And what kinds of barriers, like specific barriers, do the families have?
Those barriers include living wage employment opportunities. And my other big one is affordable childcare for those families. And so those are really big, especially if you're a young single mom and you've got 3 or 4 children and you don't have a great employment opportunity, so now your budget is extremely tight. So those make a big difference. And for us, we just do respite care once a week, but with the Starting Point's Young Women's Initiative, now we get a chance to help open some doors and have them see things differently, because when they have those setbacks and they get stuck, the perspective is limited. And our opportunity is to help open up the opportunities for them and give them a different perspective.
And so what, with removing the barriers in Starting Point 2.0, what does that kind of look like for, like you said, it's the two-pronged approach, working with women and their children. So from the B.A.B.E.S perspective, how does this program remove those barriers?
I have 4 things I'd like to drop here. Number 1, we help mothers identify their strengths. Because when they walk in the door, sometimes they don't know that through this program. They're identifying those strengths, and that bolsters their confidence. It's so exciting to watch the process. You gotta, well, I guess I can't say you gotta come. But anyways, I would love for you to be able to see the process of how they transform over the course of a few weeks. So, strengths. Number 2, our our opportunity includes providing access to a plethora of resources. So the Valley has so many resources available, and we can help open up those doors because we know a lot of people, Kara knows a lot of resources in our area. Thirdly, the other really cool thing that's an emotional tearjerker moment is that we get to hold the hand of the moms as they go through those doors and watch them go through the process and encourage them and hold them accountable as well, but we get to hold their hands because this is not a one-time deal. You know, go to class and go away. We want you to become a part of a family, a support system, a network. And then lastly, I think the biggest word I could use today is hope. So when we conclude our time and work with these moms, we conclude with hope. So.
Very cool. Now, Kara, switching over to the Fox Valley Tech side, tell us a little bit how the program is set up and the coursework for the students and their children.
I can do that. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give you a little background about my position at Fox Valley Tech. I'm a counselor in our Counseling and Advising Center, and I've been working with single parents for 20 years. That's just been the population that I've been drawn to, and it's a very rewarding work for me. So to answer your question, Jen, the topics that we're covering in our coursework, first of all, I'll just kind of explain. This is kind of a two-tier workshop. So we split it up. The first 5 weeks are really focused on those empowerment, self-esteem building topics. So we talk about change and transition. We talk about self-esteem, how your self-esteem is formed from a very little girl, and how you as a parent can already start fostering that self-esteem in your children even now. A lot of these women, as Pastor Monty said, have had a lot of adversity in their life, just some heart-wrenching stories, and so we talk about how do you overcome adversity. You know, what does that look like? We do talk about what are your strengths, you know, what talents have you been given, and how can we foster those into a career that you're passionate about, that gets you out of bed in the morning, that makes you want to help other people. And so there's a big difference between having a job versus having a career. And we talk about those differences. What does that look like? From there, we also talk about things such as finances. A lot of these women haven't learned how to maintain a budget, or maybe they have a lot of debt, or they don't know what their credit score is. How can they improve their credit score? So we have FISC. We have a lot of community partners come and talk during the workshop. It's not just me talking for hours and hours. I'm not an expert in every area, and I don't claim to be, so I like to have people come in and talk. So FISC is one of those agencies that comes in, and then that counselor gets everyone's name, and they come in for an individual appointment so they can work on those finances individually. We talk about healthy relationships. That's another area where we have seen some people make, you know, some not great choices, and so we want to talk about what does a healthy relationship look like versus an unhealthy relationship, and you know, what do you look for in a partner, and hang around positive people, and the people that are toxic in your life, you need to maybe say goodbye to them, and that can be a difficult thing. But we go through and discuss that. Of course, we talk about goal setting. A lot of these women haven't had a dream or didn't know their talents, so they haven't set goals before. How do you set goals? How do you follow through on goals? You know, how can you break a goal down to make it manageable steps? There's a lot of stress that goes with being in poverty, and so we talk about how do you handle stress in positive ways. And we have someone come in and do yoga. We do some fun things. You know, we try to have fun at the same time. And so we talk about ways to manage stress in healthy ways versus unhealthy ways. And the last topic that I like to talk about is building your own legacy. And, you know, all of us have been left a legacy, and all of us will leave a legacy for our children or for nieces or nephews or whoever it is in your path. but you have a choice not to, if you weren't left a great legacy, you have a choice to make a good legacy for your children. And so what does that look like? You know, how can we put a plan into place so that you have a healthy future for you and your children? And to tag on to that, the first 5 weeks we're really trying to mirror the lessons that we're teaching the moms with the lessons that we're teaching the children. So Pastor Monty and the teachers have put together a really great curriculum where I'll just give you some examples. Like if we're talking about self-esteem, we talk to the kids about, you know, believe in yourself. You can set goals. You can set dreams. We talk about healthy relationships. We talk about being kind to your neighbors and kind to your friends. If we're talking about stress management, you know, we use the, what do your feelings and emotions look like? You know, and how can you talk about those things? So we really try to mirror those lessons so that they can go home and they can talk about them together. And so it's been a great thing for family strengthening. I hope I answered that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So what's the goal of the program for the moms and also for the kids?
So these are just a couple points that I wrote down. Number one is to strengthen families. That's really our goal with this. It's a 2-generation approach. It's not just about the moms. It's not just about the kids. It's about both generations impacting both partners involved. So that's goal number one. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, Pastor Monty talked about self-esteem and having the moms feel confident in themselves. Because if they're feeling confident in themselves, they're able to model that to their children. And then, as you know, the things that you see modeled is what you do, right? So we want to instill that self-confidence in them so that they can model those behaviors to their children. And number two is to connect them to those resources that are here in the community. And we want them to know that they're not alone, that we have services here in the Valley that will start working with you from the time your child is an infant all the way through till your child is a teenager. And so you don't have to do that alone. There is an agency at every stage of development that wants to be in your life. And so we have a parenting panel come in to the workshop, and all of those agencies are there. They're able to connect with a face and a name. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for them to have that support system in place. The next one I would say is to identify their skills and their talents. I know I've mentioned that a couple of times, but that is so key because we want them to use the passions that they have and use them to the fullest. I strongly believe that self-esteem equals drive and passion. And so we really want to connect with them on that level. The next thing is to get them enrolled at Fox Valley Tech the next semester. Some of them are ready, some of them aren't. So we have a variety of levels of education at Fox Valley Tech. If someone needs to start with their GED or HSED, that's where we start them. You know, if we have a certificate program, which are often, you know, weeks long or a semester, we can start them in that. We have a technical diploma program, which is typically a year long, and then our associate degree programs, which are 2 years. So we have over 250 programs at Fox Valley Tech. So we're typically able to find something that matches their skills and interests. Number 5, I think that you mentioned affordable childcare is important. We want them to find affordable childcare, but we want them to find quality childcare. You know, as a mom, you know, it's hard to detach, especially if you've been home with your child for years. Now to leave someone or leave your child with someone else, that takes a lot of trust. So, you know, we navigate that. And Childcare Resource and Referral, Rosie, can you wave your hand? They've been a fantastic partner in helping parents find affordable childcare and quality childcare. So that's a big thing. The next thing is, there's a lot going on here. You have school, you have work, you have family time. How do you balance all of that? And I'm sure all of us struggle with that. That's not just these moms. But we talk about time management and how do you manage your time wisely so that, you know, you are balancing your life. Because if things are out of balance, then this might not work real well. And the last thing is, we want them to be emotionally and economically self-sufficient, you know, and I think all of these topics kind of brought together is what is going to make this happen. So,
Great, thank you. And Alex, we're gonna get the student perspective now. So tell us what brought you to Starting Point 2.0 and what your initial impressions were of it.
Okay, good morning. A little closer? Okay. What brought me to Starting Point was about a year and a half ago, I became a single mom. I had made a choice to leave a very unhealthy relationship. And through that process, I enrolled into the tech because I wanted growth economically, financially, and mentally. Is it too close? Okay. Okay, I'm good. So when I enrolled into the tech, I met with my academic advisor for the program I was currently enrolled in. And we got to know each other a little bit, and I shared my story with her, and she introduced me to Kara. And Kara had talked about Starting Point, and at first I had no intention of doing it. I was like, this isn't for me. I got so much going on, I can't do something else. And her and Amy both collaborated, Amy, my advisor, both collaborated on a way to make this workshop fit for me. I had already had my fall semester picked out, and I had thought, all right, I'll take one more thing on, not even knowing the impact and the embrace I would feel being in the workshop helping me along the way. So yeah, that's that's what I wanted to say at first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so having gone through the program, you know, you said you had no idea about the impact. Tell us about the impact it made on your life.
Okay. So I'm digging back a year and a half ago, and mentally, I wasn't prepared for school. I wasn't prepared to take care of 2 kids by myself. I wasn't prepared for a lot of things that I know I needed to be prepared for. Being a part of this workshop gave me the tools, the resources that I needed, gave me the confidence that I needed. It gave me so much clarity of my life and what was supposed to be healthy. Every relationship we have, healthy or not, affects every aspect of our life. We don't need just the people we meet, our acquaintances, my daughter's teacher, everybody. And if those relationships are healthy, they'll grow you. And if they're not, they never will. They make you feel trapped if they're unhealthy. And that's the biggest thing that I took away from this, was being able to see the value of myself as a woman, as a mother, and just as an individual.
And did you notice similar growth in your classmates?
I did notice similar growth in my classmates. I saw their confidence build in some of the workshops or some of the class courses we had to do in the workshop. It's been so long. We had to do a lot of reflecting projects. And in those reflecting projects, we had to focus on ourselves. And for the first time in so long, this was the only chance the women had to focus on themselves, because they were taking care of children. They were running this child here, they were running that child here, dealing with an unhealthy relationship, or just trying to make ends meet. So being in this workshop, each woman got to focus on themselves, think about what they wanted, their goals, their needs, what they wanted for their children. And watching them evolve into a totally different person was amazing, because all of the women have a different story, but we all face the same barriers as any parent does. We're just doing it alone. This gave us the opportunity to gain a strong support system. And I have a great support system. My family is wonderful. And My children's father's family is wonderful as well. But some people don't have that, and this gives them that. For me, it grew me and my support system, but for them, this is all they have to grow them.
So, talking about the class itself, I mean, did you guys find a little community? Do you stay in touch with each other as single moms going through some of the same challenges?
I do run into a few of them, and every time we do, it's like we never left each other. We're fighting the same fight, fighting the same battles. We just want each other to grow. We just want each other to succeed in life and inspire one another to build a legacy for our children, because they're the ones that truly matter in all of this.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Right now, I'm working at the Tech. I see some people here, so exciting. I work in counseling and advising, and I am still currently in school. I love it there. I love the environment. I love the people. I love surrounding myself with positive people. It's so inspiring to be by people who just make you feel good, and I have that at the Tech. I always try to surround myself with people who make me feel good. That's a huge thing I took away from this, because if it's not serving you, then it's not for you.
Very cool. Any last thoughts from the panelists? Then we'll open it up to questions from the audience.
I was just going to give a little update on our graduates and where
yeah.
they're at. So I'm happy to report that 100% of our Starting Point 2.0 graduates are either working towards their personal goals that we talked about, that they're either in school or they're working a full-time job, or they're still connected to B.A.B.E.S. So what does that all look like? So we've had 14 graduates so far. We had 7 in the first cohort, which was in fall, and then 7 this past spring. So I'd like to just break down for you, what are those women doing now? So we have 2 women who've gone into our business associate degree program at the Tech. One woman is getting her CNA, or Certified Nursing Assistant, certification. Another gal is going into digital marketing, which is a really cool newer program. I don't think you mentioned that Alex is in the medical assistant program. We have another gal starting the pharmacy tech program, which is a collaboration with us and another technical college in the area. And then we actually have 2 women going into the occupational therapy assistant program. So 8 of the 14 are continuing some college education, which is fantastic. You know, some of the other women, there are some, like I mentioned, there's a lot of things going on in their life. So I'll just give you some examples. One mom has an autistic child, so he gets therapy 40 hours a week, and she has to be there. So school's going to have to wait for her for a little bit, and that's understandable, right? We had another woman who came to the program and had some pretty significant AODA issues. But at the time, she had lost custody of her son, and through the program, she gained custody again. And so, you know, that's a great accomplishment, and we see those things as strengths. You know, it's not just, okay, are you in school or not? You know, those are all assets that they're building. We had another participant who was probably going through some mental health issues, and she, at the time, was struggling to keep a part-time job and was looking for more hours, and she now has a full-time job, and she can pay her bills again. Those are huge achievements. Those are victories, right? And we celebrate those. And the thing of it is that they're referring friends now to the program. They're reaching out to their sphere of influence, and they're referring those friends around them that maybe need something like this in their life. So I would say that our results so far have been very, very positive, very encouraging. You know, of course, we're always looking to improve the program, and we will continue to do that. We're learning things as we go, but it's been a fantastic process.
And how many women do you try to have in each session, and are you looking to make that number grow in the future?
you want to answer that? Okay.
That's a great question, John, and that can kind of lead me to talking about this upcoming school year, which I guess has already started. We had targeted having 12 women and their children in each of the semesters this past school year. And as Kara said, we weren't able to fill all 12 seats. One of the things probably that surprised us the most in this first year, which was a pilot, admittedly, was that we couldn't find the women. I think I mentioned earlier, you know, that when they age out of the support systems available, you know, to the minors, we lose track of them. And I mean, we really have lost track of them. And so Kara and actually Becky and Pastor have done a lot in the last calendar year, I want to say, to reach out to other nonprofit agencies and places where these women might be going for assistance to try to get their help in identifying and enrolling these single moms. We still, you know, are struggling with identifying the women that could benefit from this program. And so that is one takeaway for all of you here. If you can identify or you know someone who knows someone that could benefit from this program, tell them about Starting Point 2.0. Tell them to go to the Fox Valley Tech website, right? Is it up now? We have our own page.
So also, I would just encourage you to go to the grants room later today because we have an exhibit up and we have some flyers there, some cards where you would have the website, but I believe it's www.fetc/women is our website.
And I also want to mention that starting this fall, we are adding a second cohort to our offerings. So everything we've been doing so far is for single moms and their preschool children. We realized we have no reason to leave out the women who are not yet mothers. And so we are also opening up a second parallel workshop for those young women, 18 to 29, who could benefit. And we are not setting a salary limit on that. So any woman, any young woman in this age category is welcome to enroll. And again, that reflects our inability to find them. I'm not even sure with that lack of salary criteria that we'll be able to find 12. So, but again, we've reached out to, you know, those appropriate agencies and school districts to try to identify them. Alex, did you have something to add?
Oh, sure. I think that the women are out there, and I think when they hear about it, we were at the Timber Rather Stadium promoting Starting Point and Empower Her. And it was an event, P.B.S. Kids, Get Up and Go Day event. And Childcare Resource and Referral was there, B.A.B.E.S were there. So we were promoting this workshop, both of them. And the feedback we got was people just didn't seem like, I think they were too scared to do it. They didn't want to get out of their comfort zones. They didn't want to feel vulnerable. They didn't want to have to face and say to themselves, something's wrong, it needs fixing. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's a strength, and it's a strength that is really hard to learn unless you just one day know you need to do it. And through this workshop, it gives you that strength to change your life in so many good ways.
So I just want to add one more thing in terms of the Women's Fund role. I mean, obviously, this doesn't happen for free. And so what we've been doing is, you know, collecting donations, you know, from our donors and funding the work that needs to be done through Fox Valley Tech and through B.A.B.E.S. And obviously, the cost is lower when we don't have the children involved. Our calculations are based on, I think, the revised budget for this year. For the two cohorts, with and without children, the average cost to support one woman through the program is about $2,000. And so I personally, as a donor, feel really good that if I can give $2,000 to this initiative, that will help lift one woman out of where she is now and help her realize the strengths she has so that she can move on, you know, and to a better future.
Great. Are there any questions? Sure, go ahead.
My name is Ronna Swift. I've been involved with this kind of activity almost all my career. And I want to make an observation first. This is not only multi-generational here, it is also multicultural. Look at the panel. 40 years ago, this wasn't Appleton. It was white. That wasn't realistic then. This is realistic now. I'm just delighted. Just delighted. And Carol, you are a follow-through of the women's group that was started in the mid-'80s in Body.
Yes.
And I am so glad. I'm wondering if then a class like the jobs class I taught for resumes, the employability skills for the HSED, at some point the women would be taking advantage of something like that, getting help with their resumes and so on, I would think. And the other thing is, having taught at Oshkosh Correctional for 15 years, alcohol and drug abuse issues and the opioid crisis is so running so many young people and middle-aged people's lives, but particularly young people. Are you connected at all at this point, like with Jesse Heffernan, addiction recovery specialist? Because that is such a crucial part for many of the young women and men here in the Valley, that is something that we might want to think about. So Kara, they do take a class then eventually on resumes and stuff?
So, yeah, that's one of the topics I didn't necessarily touch on in my opening comments, but we have an employment connections at Fox Valley Tech, and they're the experts in resumes and finding jobs, and so I typically have them come in and speak, and I'm learning that another topic we're going to talk about with that group is social media, and how do you present yourself on social media, and how don't you present yourself on social media, because I'm finding that it's not common sense for everybody. So, but yes, that's a topic we definitely cover and give them those resources that somebody will walk alongside them and help them, you know, in starting that job search. And with regards to your comment about AODA issues, I don't know the gentleman that you mentioned. Okay. I did go out and make a visit to, and I won't remember the name, but they're over on Ballard Road, and they are, do you know what it is? No, it's heroin. I believe it's the heroin addiction. They go in to get, if they're trying to, yeah, the methadone clinic, yes. And I did talk to all 12 of their counselors and let them know that, you know, this is a program that's available now. It's not for everybody. You know, we want to find people who are motivated to make change. We want to find people who are further along in their recovery, that they're able to focus on setting goals and things like that, so.
Right here in the front.
My name is Colleen Iverson. I'm one of the volunteer caseworkers at B.A.B.E.S. When I first read about this in the paper, I thought, wow. The largest demographic that we serve are single white mothers with minor children. So it really astounded me to say that you can't find enough people to get into your program. Please, please, please educate us at B.A.B.E.S. Give us paperwork. Alexis Hill is now housed at B.A.B.E.S. I'm thinking that every 4-hour shift that I volunteer there, I've got someone that will fit these parameters. I realize that it takes courage on the client's part to admit that I need help and I need structure, but we can plant the seed every day, all the time. So please, please, please.
I appreciate that, and we'll
let us know
follow
that.
through with you for sure.
Keep in mind, and this is something that those at the tech made us aware of or reminded us of, with the extremely low unemployment rate right now, I mean, people aren't flocking to go back to school. And so, you know, I can imagine the mindset is, I need all my hours so that I can earn money to pay my bills. So even if I'm only taking 4 hours per week to go to the workshop, that's money that I'm giving up. So there's an equation that they're having to work through in their minds that just isn't working to our favor, I think, at this time.
And I think that's where we have to help change the mindset. And so at Levin, if you can help us by trying to encourage them differently, I know you need to work, but now we're trying to help you get to a better paying job. So thank you.
In the back.
At the luncheon today, there will be donation envelopes. I'm wondering if you can earmark for starting point 2.0 with your donation.
Okay, the question was, can you earmark your donation today with the envelopes on the table?
Yes, because obviously this is a successful and a growing initiative for us. We have our own budget line for the Young Women's Initiative. So on your check, if you just want to write YWI, we will direct it towards that line. Thank you, Kim, who is one of our board members.
Okay. Yep, in the back by the door.
Yes, so my son Jax is now 2 years old, and I was staying at home with him. I ended work about a month before my pregnancy ended, and I was staying at home with him. So starting this program was a new thing for him, not just me. I had to bring him to a new place, a new environment, new people, and I saw Jax evolve into he was shy, wasn't he? He was so shy, the shy little guy. Now he is not shy. He is into everything. He's so inquisitive, and he really broke out of his shell. His developmental skills grew. He loves books, and I love that. Every night, 10 books, that kid, I tell you, 5. But he loves learning. It was really instilled, the learning part in him. Thank you. It was really, he loves learning. He wants to learn something new every single day. That's what I need. That's what I want from my children. I want them to learn that education is power that no one can take away from you. Once it's up here, it's yours. And my children learn that, and they know that. Even my 10-year-old, I was reading her my speech I have to give today, and she goes, "Mom, you did great." And I was like, "Thank you, honey." I was like, she goes, "Mom, you got this. You do everything great." She goes, "Thank you for all you do for us." That was my 10-year-old. And how they feel about me makes me feel the most amazing that I could feel. What my children feel, it's like this embrace that just constantly lifts you up every single day. And they gain that through this workshop. So thank you. Thank you, and thank you. It's true, it's true.
All right, we have just 1 minute left. Quick question up here.
My name is Liz Belanger, and I have a question. First of all, I'm puzzled about 2.0. What does that mean? And second is, have we forgotten about the young men that are single fathers? Is there a counterpart to Women's Fund?
Okay, question was, where does the 2.0 in the name come from, and is there a counterpart program for single dads in the area?
Great question, Lucy. So I'll revert back to what you said earlier. And so starting point was a workshop. Let me back up. Fox Valley Tech has always embraced people who have barriers. They have always done that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so pleased to work there, because we really try to break barriers down for people. And so starting point developed back in the early 80s. And we were working with single parents and displaced homemakers. And this workshop kind of developed from there. So it was something that we had run, and we did that up until 2014. And then because of some funding reasons, it kind of dropped off the map. And then lo and behold, the Women's Fund came along in 2016. And so there was a starting point in our past, and we added on the 2.0 because it's a two-generation approach. Whereas in the past, it was just the women. So hopefully that clarifies that question for you. And what about our young men? Great question. I have 3 boys myself, and I often think, oh boy, what can we do to encourage our men to make good choices in life? And I've talked to our ABE department about that. We have a lot of at-risk young men that come to the tech as well. There have been a few programs here and there in our community that have, really kind of delved into that population. I know the one that was in the area is no more because of lack of funding. But that's something, this is one of those things where we have an expansion phase. We started with Starting Point. Now we're doing Empower is the next program for women who are 18 to 29 with no children. Our next phase is hopefully to expand to another community. But who knows, maybe the next phase will be another donor that wants to focus more on men. And I don't think that's out of the question, and I think that's a question that our community needs to ask, because that population is definitely in need of some wisdom and guidance.
All right, so it is a few minutes after 11, so I need to cut you loose. Just a few reminders, the program starts at 11:25 upstairs, so you do still have some time. Kara mentioned the grant displays, so you can check those out. There's the designer purse raffle. You can come up here. I'm sure the panelists will stick around if you have any questions, burning questions you didn't get asked. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. Enjoy the rest of the day.